This is Andrew Hada from Nothing Ventured Media. I want to tell you about all the feature films we've made and how you can see them right now. The last one is a zombie drama about how a pandemic and isolation could drive a group of people mad. When the virus hits, John finds himself alone and scared until he meets Michael, his protector. But when Karina, another survivor, enters the mix, everything that John and Michael knew will be turned on its head. The last one's is a zombie virus movie that's somehow even more relevant today. Plus, it has zombies. Check it out. Borderland is a mexploitation film about living in El Paso. When Sarah finds herself in debt to the cartels, she has until sunrise to find some missing monies with the help of her executioner. Borderland is a true midnight movie and a lot of fun. The documentary Humble Spirits tells the story of the Hahn family, including champion Jennifer Hahn from El Paso, Texas. The entire Hahn family has grown up in the combat sports and has helped shape who they are both in and out of the ring. Humble Spirits, A Family of Fighters, is the perfect documentary for boxing fans of all ages. Finally, The Empty Space, winner of multiple awards, including the Sacramento Horror Film Festival's Best of the Best, is a cosmic horror about Amy Andrews, who's dealing with anxiety and depression after a violent attack that killed her husband. As she tries to find herself, she starts to lose her grasp on reality. Or could it be something much more sinister? The Empty Space is full of twists and turns, with Grace DeWilder of Rue Morgue magazine calling it a powerful film full of excellent performances by practically every cast member. All of Andrew Hada's movies are available to rent or buy on streaming services such as Tubi, Amazon, and many other places. And if that's not enough for you, Hada Films is home to all of our short films. So take a look around and see what you like. Spend your day with Hada Films and Nothing Ventured Media. Now, let's start the Bomb Squad. Hey guys, welcome to the Bomb Squad. Welcome back. We have what Wikipedia calls a psychological horror, which I think is incorrect. I'm
Yeah,
Andrew.
thriller.
Yeah, right? I don't
It's
know.
a thriller.
I'm Andrew Hada, writer-director Andrew Hada. Find me on Tubi. I'm here with my composer, William Murdoch, and the poster designer, Joshua Epp. He made that poster. The one of Tony
The
Montana.
Scarface, yeah.
He made that
The
picture.
iconic
He drew the
college
picture,
logo.
yeah.
Yeah. And today on the Bomb Squad, where we talk about movies old and new, we're talking about
True. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not wrong. I don't have to
Yeah.
describe every part of the podcast every time.
Maybe though.
Today, okay, we cover underrated. This movie is definitely
Yeah.
underrated. It's underseen. It also had a
Hmm.
budget of like $2, but we're talking
Yeah.
about 2011's Sound of My Voice. Oh shit, his first name is just out of the park. Directed
Yeah.
by
Let's try it.
Batman Jingy.
It looks like that.
Batman Jing.
Let me see if I can look it up.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna actually I know how to say it.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait for me.
Written by and starring the amazing Brit Marling, Batman, Batmaglinge is
Yeah,
how Wikipedia says.
Batman
Brit
Gleesh.
Marling
Batman
worked together
Gleesh?
on like everything.
Yes, they worked together
Right.
on everything but Another Earth. She worked with Matt Cahill. They all met in college and they made movies. And Brit Marling's the writer because they're like, oh, she's a good writer. It
Yeah.
stars Brit Marling. It stars Christopher Denham, who you remember as the creepy guy in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, he's a face you know, but a name you don't, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Good actor. Yeah.
He's very good. He's in a lot. He's also also stars Nicole Vicious. That's a vicious name.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything else besides this movie.
She had this movie and a couple of other movies after that, and then she kind of stopped acting. But before that, she was in quite a bit of movies. I looked at her IMDb today, and she was I think she was in 500 Days of Summer. She was in The Cleaner, Rescue Me, CSI.
She was around
Yeah,
she was big before this movie even.
She was in Half Nelson. I think I remember her in that movie. But yeah, she was in quite a bit. I wonder what happened to her. She hasn't made anything, or she hasn't been in anything since
in a while.
2013. So come back. come back to acting. Help Brit Marley get out of the AI curse. But William, why don't you tell us? Why don't you let us hear the sound of your voice?
Okay. Um, Here it is. It's about this couple that finds a cult that's led by a girl who claims to be from the future, and they want to infiltrate and film the cult to make a documentary about it to stop this girl. And then as time goes on, they kind of change their views about what it means to be in a cult and the type of person that responds well to cultish behavior.
Yeah, it's kind of about the two documentary filmmakers. I like the movie because it kind of starts us right into their like first initial meeting of the cult. Like they're
Yeah,
in a van
you
and they
feel like
get
you're there.
yeah, you get taken. And I think
Yeah.
one of the great things about it is that since they had to like really improvise. The budget was really like 150,000, and they shot it in L.A., which in L.A. like 150,000 maybe covers the permits.
Yeah.
Um,
It
but
feels low budget, but like they do it so well that you don't even really
yeah,
notice.
it really works because like so they're taking them through the hills and they're like handcuffed and blindfolded, but we're inside the van, and so it kind of puts us in their shoes, but also is clearly done for like to save money.
Sure, yeah.
And so
One
it's an
location
interesting
pretty much.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they probably didn't even shoot that on the actual road. They probably shot the road like all on one night. But so it's good that they're like able to think around the box, and I think that helps us like get into their mind. Then they get to the place, they have to like clean off and they have to like scrub every inch of their skin with like antibacterial soap. Then they have to
Yeah.
change clothes, and then they finally get with the group, and then that's where Marlene comes in as Maggie, the leader
Hmm.
of the cult. And like she kind of like she tells them like, "Oh, welcome. This is what we're doing." And at the very end, she's like, "But yeah, I come from the year 2030,
54. It's
54.
2054.
2054."
Yeah.
And then it cuts, and then we cut to another part. Another thing is that this movie originally made it to be like a web series, and so it's cut up into parts, but that's why it's cut
I
up
was
into
wondering when
parts.
they did, and at this
Oh, the
point in
like
time we don't.
1, 2, 3.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And we don't know that they're trying to make a movie at this point. Like it starts you off just like so blind. Like
Yes.
you're just in a van with some random people that are going to this weird cult, and that's all you
Yeah.
really know. And they have this like very detailed like handshake that they have to do. I
Yeah.
assume every time they go to a meeting, but it's like a 5 minute long handshake.
But
Yeah.
And so they have all these like weird rituals, and like these people have been like practicing or something to get into the cult, and like tonight's like their like initiation. Like the
Yeah.
leader is like, this is
right.
Sam and Brenda or whatever their names are. And it's their first night, and they're part of the club. So it's like you
Yeah.
really do get to you really feel like the way they do it is so unnerving but also interesting that like
Yeah.
I don't know. It really feels like that's
And
what it'd be like to
I
be into a
think
cult.
one of the best things about this movie is that it kind of does it never really it's answering a little bit at a time, like a very little bit. So
Yeah.
at the end, you realize they're going for a cult. You realize that things are weird. You're kind of like freaked out. But then Britt Marlene says that she's from the future, and it's like, okay,
What?
what does that mean?
Yeah. And like you would love for that to be true, so you're like, okay.
Yeah,
But it's
But it's
like
yeah,
that's
like what
obviously
the hell?
insane.
and it
Yeah.
is like the way it's like the reason they have to clean, and you can almost see like they do a good job of like kind of towing the line of doubt. Of
Yeah,
what
Yeah,
it could be like. 'Cause
definitely.
it's like, oh, they're cleaning yourselves, and she has like an oxygen thing because it's like, oh, the air is different, so it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
she's
they're
allergic to everything.
sick.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, because of all of that, and it's very like it is clever the way they're like, oh, is it true? Is it not? Obviously, you as
Hmm.
the viewer also want it to be true because that's you know like the kind of the
Cool.
more interesting thing.
yeah.
But it's also
Yeah.
very like they're not just gonna give it to you.
And
You know?
Yeah.
I do want to say another cool thing about this movie that's probably not really intentional, but they kind of shot it where they lived, which was in like the Los Feliz part of LA. I think the cool thing about movies that take place in like the hills part of LA is that it really kind of proves how big Los Angeles is, and
Yeah.
like the coolest thing about Los Angeles, and maybe the scariest thing, is that it feels like there's a million different worlds or stories being told all at the same time.
Sure.
Like you're over
Yeah.
here. Like I remember we were in when I went last, we were in on top of a roof, smoking. But then there's like a party downstairs, or there's like a Hollywood premiere over here, and
Yeah.
so I think that kind of adds to it that you're in LA, but you're in like such a weird unseen version or rarely seen version of LA that it feels like, oh yeah, what could be happening in these weird ass hills?
Right, right. Because it is just so expansive. Like it's just
Yeah,
like it doesn't even like it feels like a city, obviously, but it feels more like a town that just
yeah,
never stopped growing.
Right.
And now
right,
there's just too many
Overlapping
things going on.
cultures, kind of in a
yeah.
Yeah,
weird way,
yeah.
like subcultures and stuff. Yeah.
Like I'll
Because it's
tell
not
you what,
like
if I ever had a cult, I wouldn't bring any Los Feliz hipsters like Brit Marling does. That was a mistake, Maggie.
I know. How do you trust any of these people? Because they're all kind of like hip kids. Like they're all probably mid-20s, maybe 30s, and they're just
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, we're here for it."
There is like a part like where it's so this is the most hipster example of like because everyone's kind of hipsterish, but then when like
yeah.
um one of the couple is the girl's having doubts and the guy's like, so you just want to go back to drinking 40s at foreign films and getting wasted in art galleries?
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
know.
yeah,
Yeah,
only
yeah.
hipsters would like see that as the
Yeah.
ultimate
It's
decadence.
like, oh, dude, for
Also,
real though, that does sound
that would
tight.
be cool.
That sounds so cool. I want to do it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was doing when I was watching this movie. What are you talking
yeah. I had a
about?
little straw,
But yeah, and I think
my
like it really
Mickey's.
works because then we cut to, and it's kind of cool because then we cut to like these scenes, and I always like these scenes, but I think they're hit and miss with the audience where they show the two main characters' lives before they started the movie, and it like tells us, the
Oh yeah,
girl was the daughter of a producer, and she kind of came from nepotism, but she became like a Kylie Jenner, just partying,
just yeah,
and so then she like realized that there was no fun in that, so she like went hardcore the other way, and now she's like a hardcore artist. And
yeah,
then the other guy who's like mom died, and then he's like been struggling, and he's like kind of got left at his grandparents and stuff. So I think that's kind of cool that again, this movie almost feels like it's I don't want to say mumblecore, but kind of that it's trying to wrap you in a world and like really
yeah.
make you live in it, which I think is cool.
Like I wouldn't
Yeah,
think mumblecore, but
yeah.
it is adjacent to it. Thinking about that
Yeah,
more
it's
for
it's
more than a few
more
seconds.
streamlined. Yeah,
Yeah,
It's very like, and this isn't because this is definitely true of a lot of like Brit Marling stuff where it doesn't like in a horror movie, it's almost this different reality where like there's this it's like hyper real of like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is so crazy, it's like
sure.
this world's crazy. And this it feels like it takes place in the real world if you're like
Yeah,
depressed. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like the
yeah,
real world's still continuing like around these people and it feels like very lived in, but in a way where you're like, yeah, but everything sucks. So I'm just like not paying attention.
totally.
right,
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
very good at like that setting kind of time and place.
yeah,
yeah. And then we learned that like Peter during the day, so they're like trying to figure out the code and stuff. But during the day, Peter is a substitute teacher, and he's like watching over these kids. They kind of focus on this one little girl who always wears a red hat, and
hmm And she's a
when
little
she go,
odd. Like she's probably like autistic or something.
yeah, she
She's like
seems
very withdrawn.
autistic.
Yeah,
She goes home and like she talks to the maid, and the maid talks to her, but she doesn't like reply. She doesn't really reply to anyone, and
yeah,
then and she just runs. But the maid's like not upset. It's almost like she's expecting that kind of reaction because the little girl's just different. And then
hmm
the little girl is like building the symbiote in her bedroom,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's like
Only black
Legos. Only
Legos and
black
it's like
Legos. Yeah,
crawling
and
up the walls.
and I was like, oh my god, is Ridley Scott around because he's gonna tie this into Prometheus
Also,
somehow.
yeah,
if you've seen enough movies where someone claims to be a time traveler, you know exactly what's going to happen with this little girl. So we'll get there.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not really a guessing cat. I don't know.
It's not like a big twist. You're more like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's what this is about.
And that's like
It's usually a twist in those movies, though. So that's
definitely.
kind of like pull to it.
And it's like this is kind of like one of two scenes or like two or three scenes where like the movie does like there's another character that we start following very briefly that kind of come that's like because it mostly stays with the couple because they're the main characters, the guy and the girl.
Yeah.
But then there is a whole scene without the guy or the girl with what's her name? Pritchett? Something?
Yeah.
Oh,
The little
older
girl.
lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Beanie Girl, and then there's also this other lady that we'll get to later. But it's like it does do this interesting thing where it very intentionally like drops the two main characters and goes to these two
Right.
side characters to like give them a little back. And like knowing that it's a series, that kind of makes more sense. Like that this movie feels like it was
Yeah.
not in a bad way even. Like it doesn't even like really hurt it as an experience. But like, if you haven't seen this and you go and watch it, you'll knowing that that makes so much sense. That's crazy that you knew that.
You
I
know, it's
like that a
funny
lot.
too, because it's Mr. and Mrs. Pritchett, but the guy Mr. Pritchett is played by
He's
Dr.
played by Dr.
Venture,
Venture
Dr. Venture
himself.
from the Venture Brothers, which I did not catch
Yeah,
because he sounds like, but you're like, oh yeah, because I recognize the name.
he's also in The Office. He plays like Dwight Schrute's friend.
Yeah, I think his cousin. Oh yeah, his friend
Yeah.
who's like
Yeah,
mean.
that's
Yeah.
and he has one of the best faces ever. Like that guy is such a
Yeah.
funny looking dude.
And just to get this out of the way, because I was like, I've seen this guy before, I have to look this up. Like Brit Marling's like head disciple is this older man who kind of like guides the
Klaus.
group and stuff. He is the old man in the fake I think you should leave Claire's ear piercing instructional video.
Oh yeah.
Who
Oh.
like it's all teen girls and then
I
one
don't
old
need
man.
this. You need to know this.
So you're like, where have I seen him? It's I think you should leave.
Versatile.
Yeah.
Also, in my constant attempt to get us demonetized, is it hinted at in that first scene?
I don't know.
Because Mr. Pritchett walks into the room and he
Yes,
closes the door, and then it kind of he looks creepy.
that's what I thought
And
too.
Oh, that he's a creep.
It looks like
Yeah.
they're insinuating that he like abuses her,
Yes,
and that's why
right,
she's
right.
building Legos and like she can't.
Right, or that's why she's kind of troubled or whatever.
Yeah, like doesn't
And
behave for the rest of the world.
It is, but
Yeah.
everyone's kind of like there's. It starts following this other woman, this cop, and she's super troubled, but not in a way that's really. It just seems like her life's bad. So I think everyone's just
Yeah.
kind of. So it could go either way. This
Yeah.
doesn't really
this
answer a lot
movie-
of questions. To be
This
honest.
movie, like the best and worst thing of this movie is that it's kind of hard once you know the mystery. I hadn't seen it in forever, so when I was watching it
Yeah.
again, I was enthralled again,
Mhm.
But I had tried to watch it a couple of times, and I couldn't get into it despite liking this movie quite a bit. And I think part of it is
You couldn't get
that-
into it this time.
No, the first
Oh,
couple of times I tried
gotcha,
to
gotcha.
rewatch it. Because the first time I watched it, I really liked it, and then when I like bought it for my house, and then I tried to watch it at home, I just couldn't get into it. Like I would always get bored. And I think the reason is that a lot of this, like the mystery, is in the air. Like almost every scene is kind of like leading you a different direction. Like there's this
Totally.
scene where
Yeah.
Lorna, she's like walking with the older lady, and then like it's just weird, and Lorna's like, I'm really freaked out. Like let's just go home.
Yeah, they go like on a
And the
hike
older-
together, and the lady's like,
Yeah.
"No, come with me. You have to see this thing. It's gonna be cool. You're gonna like it."
Yeah, and then you find out that the girl Carol, who's like kind of the older second in command, along with Klaus, is she's like, oh, I'm gonna teach you how to shoot a gun because the world might be ending, and she kind of like, oh, she's like a doomsday person because she's also like
Yeah.
growing her own fruit, and she's
Apples.
like, you can't eat that grocery store food, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
And like one of the things that Maggie says is that like eventually everyone's gonna start growing gardens in their garage because like there's gonna be such food scarcity.
Yeah.
It's like-
she kind of implies, and she like I said, they keep it vague, but she implies that like whatever huge war happened made people like flee cities and like just kind of live in the country and kind of just like,
Yeah.
everyone has
Well,
their own farm,
I think it's implied that there's like no centralized government or anything like this. So like
Yeah.
everyone's kind of on their own regardless of where they are because it kind of like it seems like there's almost no history of anything. But one of the good things about this movie is every time we kind of meet with Maggie again, she's like questioned, but she always finds a way around it. Like one of my favorite scenes is like the lamb guy. He's this other couple, and he doesn't really buy it because like at one point she's like, "Oh, here's a song that we used to sing when I was young."
They do push her though. They're like, "Come on, sing for
Yeah.
us," because she doesn't want to do it. She's like, "Oh, I learned
Yeah.
it when I was young," and it's a Cranberries song from the 90s.
Yeah, it's one of the best Cranberries songs
Yeah.
ever.
Which is this is a good wraparound to the last ones because we tried and failed to use a Cranberries song for the end.
Oh, yeah.
No, we
so-
didn't. We just put that in as a joke.
Oh, I thought it worked.
I did too. It was
worked.
great.
I almost
Yeah.
thought, in retrospect, I think at the time, Pretentious Andrew was a little bit too on his high horse. But current day Andrew would have tried to get the zombie song. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that I played that after the very first full edit, and it was like
Yeah.
a practical joke, and I feel bad to this day because I was like, I wonder if I ruined that moment for Andrew. of seeing
Right,
his
like it
first
was actually
film.
really good. No, it was.
Right.
It actually is really good. It's like funny.
because I
Anyway.
think like it helped to. I knew it was coming anyway, so I figured it was gonna
Oh,
happen.
you already knew the prank? You knew that was gonna happen?
No, but I mean, why wouldn't you end it on zombie? It's called zombie, you know.
I mean, yeah, it's so fun.
Right.
And it's in your
Also,
head.
I'm pretty sure that Kristen ruined that prank like 8 times while editing because she'd be like, "I think we're gonna do an edit with zombie at the end," and then she'd be like, "Ah, just kidding." But it's
Yeah,
like, well, I
no.
know they're gonna do it.
Yeah,
'cause
like
why-
eventually
like,
someone's
Yeah.
gonna do it. Yeah.
And it was
But
like,
anyway,
like,
back to the-
yeah,
She
yeah,
doesn't
this is
sing
a
zombie.
random
She
tangent.
sings the changes
Dreams.
every day.
Yeah,
Dreams.
dreams.
Yeah. And she's pretending that she thinks it's a song from the future.
Right.
And then
Yeah,
the
and
whole
guy's
crowd
like,
is like,
that's like a famous song. He's like, well, this other singer made it famous in my time, like in 20,
Yeah, it's like
38 or
Nicola.
whatever. Yeah.
And then like, but Lamb is like, well, can't you tell us something that happened now that we can like prove? And she brings up this very good point. In 2011, he's like, okay, well, you were born in 1976. Can you tell me something that happened in 1959 so I can prove that that's when you were born? And of course he can because nobody could. You know?
yeah,
Right.
Like off the top of their head. And like, but that's a good point. Like, if you find yourself in the future, because she explains that like she just woke up in the past. And
Yeah.
so it's not like she was prepared or ready or she was studying all her life to go back in the past and try to save everyone.
yeah.
It's just that she was in a shitty place. She woke up in the present and now she's trying to like see what she can do to fix it. But I also think of that like, where it's like, oh, you would go back in time and become a king because you could show them how to like make fire and shit. I'd be like,
Right.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah,
Y'all,
I'd be like,
you guys have a lighter? You guys have a lighter and some pieces
Like,
of paper?
Yeah. Or when Ash like opens the trunk and he has like the first grade chemistry.
oh yeah,
and
the
he can
chemistry
make gunpowder.
textbook.
Yeah.
That's what I would need. But that's like, I think that's like a smart way to both keep it in suspense what she knows, where you think of it and you're like, oh yeah, why would I know something from 10 years before I was born?
Right. Like if you were dropped back like July of 2001,
Yeah.
you'd be like, in a few months, the world's gonna change.
There's
but like it would
5
have to be something
major
so
events.
major. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
it would be impossible to do
And
anything.
even,
Or, like,
even then, I bet a lot of people don't know like the year Kennedy was assassinated.
That's
You
what I
know,
was
it's
gonna-
like,
Right,
kinda
right.
Like, be like,
Well-
yeah.
Okay, let's say they drop you right now, May 27, 1963, the year Kennedy was assassinated. Are you before or after that assassination?
if somebody asked me this question, I would be like, well, is Kennedy alive or dead?
Oh, that is true.
And they'd be like, alive. And I'm like,
I should
hold
know
on.
this because I watched the James
Hold
Franco
that
time
time.
travel show where he tries to
That's what
prevent
I'm-
it, and I still don't.
I think it's 11,
Yeah.
17 or something. But
Because
that
that
is one of
Stephen
the
King
things,
book.
like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you get lucky if you went to 2001, but even then, who are you telling?
Right. And no one's
Yeah,
going to believe
what-
you until
what-
it happens.
what can you
it's not going
really
to change
do?
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna arrest you. It doesn't.
Because you call them and you say, hey, there's going to be a terrorist attack. And then you're going to end up in the gulag, like, by the
Yeah,
end
they're
of
going
the
to be like,
day,
how'd you know, dude?
Yeah, how do you know that?
Right.
Yeah,
You're
you
just gonna be
psycho.
black-sided. Yeah, no, it's you can't do much.
But and I think, but on the other hand, that is something that's what a liar would say. Like,
Yeah.
it goes both ways. But I think a lot of times they'll go both ways, and then one way just doesn't make sense if you think about it. Like, I think about some of the fan theories where it's like, no, it doesn't make sense if you really put in everything about the character. And so here, it kind of like it keeps you guessing the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would almost
It's really
say,
fun.
in a way, it almost keeps you guessing on too much, if that makes sense. And the fact that you said it's a web series kind of makes. I was like, oh, I feel like there was probably a second part to this where a little bit more gets like kind of.
See,
at least,
well, and
like,
we'll get
answered.
to it at the end of it.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think Brit Marling does a
Because
good
we're
job
at
of
the
towing
middle.
that line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think she's like charismatic enough. You could be like, I could see why people would buy this, but also how she might just be like a
Yeah.
con artist. You know?
Right.
yeah.
And one thing about the Lamb story, whenever he was like, tell me about an event that happened close to your, well, tell me something in the future that I can believe. Prove yourself that you are from the future. And then she like makes him leave because she's like, no, Lamb, you got to get out of here. You're like not a true believer. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
And then whenever he's like getting escorted by security, he's like, but it's just so unbelievable. Like all of you guys gotta think this is fake, right? And it's like that's the first time that you see any sort of like deviation from the other
Crack.
cult members.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the whole time the main couple is like, yeah, she's full of shit. Like this is like not real. This is dumb. But then they kind of start to believe it as the movie goes on. And then when we see Lamb totally just say what everyone else is thinking, like this might all just be crazy. It's kind of like an interesting thing to see because it's like, well, probably everybody in the group goes home and is like, I don't know,
Yes,
What the hell's happening? Yeah.
right?
almost
Like just
tell
how we
it.
feel about it.
It's kind of
He
like-
thought it was fake. Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah.
like that scene in The Master where Jesse Plemons is like, you know, all this is fake, right? He's making it up as he goes along, and like,
Right.
and then
Dude,
Joaquin
exactly.
Phoenix is
Yeah.
like, oh shit, you know, like he kind of always believed it, but now it's like, oh, someone admitted it finally, and so
Yeah.
now it's like, oh no, like maybe he is full of shit, you know. And I
Right.
think this movie does a good job of keeping you on that edge. And
Yeah.
so then they like kind of get into fights, you know, because she kind of wants to end it. But so then Maggie wants to meet Peter, and so he goes to see her by himself, and she's like smoking. I like that
Yeah,
part. And she's
smoking
like,
and drinking.
I'm
Yeah.
not a saint. And it's
And,
like,
and,
oh, wait,
and
come
Peter
on.
is kind of like into her at this time. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
kind of
Oh,
becomes like
yeah.
attracted to her, and his
Yeah.
girlfriend is like, "You love her, dude. Like you don't even like the cult." Because at first the girlfriend kind of seems like she's maybe into the cult, but then
Yeah.
the boyfriend is like into Brit Marling, and so
Yeah.
that and now leading into this scene.
Oh,
And we'll talk about it in a second too. But yeah, so then Maggie's like, okay, do you have? She like gets out a yearbook. She's like, do you have this little girl? And it's the little girl with the red hat. And he's like, how do you know this? How do you know what I'm doing? Her like,
Yeah.
How do you even know I'm a substitute teacher? And she's like,
Right.
I need you to bring this little girl to me. And she's like, why? He's like, why? And she's like, oh, you don't need to know. Like that's none of your business. And then Peter like keeps pushing because obviously you're gonna keep
Yeah,
pushing.
you're like, I'm not gonna abduct a child.
Right.
Her word.
Okay.
It's
And
cool.
so-
Yeah.
Eventually, Maggie says, "Oh, this girl is my mom, and that's why I need to talk to her." And so it's like, "Oh shit!" But then they get home and like they're kind of talking about it, and like the last scene was the girlfriend like really into it, and then this scene,
It's kind of the turn because she's like, "That's
Like-
crazy, right?"
Yeah.
He's like, "It is crazy."
I don't
She's
know
like,
though.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna do it. He's like, "No." Yeah, like it's very.
But have you ever looked into Brit Marling's eyes for a few minutes?
I
Like
know, it's
maybe
like,
I'm
yeah,
thinking about it.
I'll kidnap whoever you want.
Have you heard
Yeah,
her
that's all
soothing
good.
Voice.
It's
Tell
her
a
mom.
really long
Yeah, have you
story.
heard the sound?
I know she wants to see her mom, bro.
Yeah, don't
but
you want to
so
see your
then
mom?
she like takes off and she's all mad, and he's still kind of figuring out whether he wants to do it or not. And then that's when she goes to a bar, and then she's approached by the other woman that we've been following this whole time, who tells her she's with the State Department and that
Yeah.
she wants to stop her, Maggie, because she's like, oh, she sets up these cults and then they like do weird stuff.
Yeah,
but I
she
can't
like
tell you
cashes
what.
out. She basically
Yeah.
like, somehow
Well, and-
profits from it. You know.
Yeah.
And there's one thing, like when we first meet the cop lady, we don't know if she's a cop yet, but she's in a hotel room, and she's like professionally, but also aggressively checking her hotel room for bugs,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
audio surveillance. And so it's
you
like,
think she's like crashing out like a paranoid person, which is like,
Yeah,
oh, she's
yeah.
a cop. It almost makes more sense. Yeah.
But see,
but then
here's
it's like,
the thing.
would a cop do that? Like, I feel like a cop wouldn't, like, or what is
See, that's
she
what-
involved in?
That's what I was about to say, because she says
Yeah.
she's part of the State Department, but they keep it very vague. And my question is she part of the State Department,
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
is she someone else? And so she tells her like, "Oh, do they want a kid yet?" And that kind of starts Lorna in her tracks. And then Lorna's like, "How do you know that?"
Yes.
It's like, "Oh, it's part of the grift. They'll take that kid." And so then Lorna gets back and she's like, "Okay, what if we set it up in a public place and we put cameras everywhere?" And then Peter, for some reason, like, "No, I don't think we should do it anymore." It's like, okay, guys,
Yeah. Right.
like, you guys got to make a decision.
Yeah,
but I think that
yeah,
works
we
too.
make
You
a
know what I thought
documentary.
was funny though, because in the first child abduction scene, she's like, "Get out! Like we're broken up. Like leave our apartment."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next time she approaches him, he's just like at the school by himself. I'm like, is he sleeping in his classroom? Like,
Yeah.
Because you never see him between those two scenes. I'm like, he's not affording his own apartment
Yeah.
on a substitute.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
and then
So-
there's like a part where he's just editing in the house, and it's like that's the most LA thing ever, where it's like, get out, but also you can come back and edit if you need.
Right.
Yeah. And she's just like, I think you were right. We should like finish what we
Yeah.
started. And he's like right? Like what It's just
He's
a
like,
kid.
yeah.
Who
He's
cares?
he's completely
fine.
become susceptible to everything.
Yeah.
And so then they plan like they're gonna go on a field trip, and he's gonna kind of separate the little girl, and then Maggie's gonna talk to her, and they're gonna put cameras everywhere so they can kind of catch her. And so this happens, but then at the very last second, they're like, "Oh, we need you to come this way with us." And I will say spoilers for the. I'm just gonna ruin it because we kind of have to finish talking about it.
Yeah, to
But
really
Yeah.
I would
discuss
say
the
go
yeah.
watch it if you haven't seen
Go
it
watch
yet.
it for
Go
sure.
check it out and then come back so you can join in on the discussion.
Hmm.
And so then they go into like they're like, oh no, she wants to meet her over here, and so then Maggie finally meets her like in the back room, and the little girl's like all freaked out, and Maggie's like, it's okay, come here, and then they like don't know what to say, and then Maggie starts doing the handshake, and then the little girl starts doing the handshake back, and the
Yeah.
little girl says at the
And
end
it's
of it, she
complicated.
goes, and it's like a 5-minute handshake.
Yeah.
And a spoiler of things that Brit Marley would do to come. And then she's like, "How did you learn my secret handshake?" And Brit Marling's like, "Oh, you taught it to me." And then the doors open and like some random guys in black
Goons.
grab
Yeah,
her and
coming.
take her away.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
They're like, Peter,
Yeah, and
what did
Peter's
you
just
do?
there like,
and he's confused because he actually was not part of that. And
yeah,
then it,
yeah.
then it ends. And I mean, to me, the indication is that she has to be from the future for like this to work. But
Right.
also, yeah, like that person is like a fake Fed who came up with this, but it's like, are they from the future? You know, it doesn't give you enough
Right.
Yeah.
to figure
right.
out what's going on with this woman, if she's a Fed, if she's from like the future, you know. But and
Yeah.
that speaks to me that like they thought they were going to get a sequel that they didn't, or like.
Well, I'll say two things now that we're at the end of this. I'll say first that yeah, originally this was supposed to be a trilogy of films, and even though this film did well, I mean, it was made for 130 and it made like 500,000.
$500,000. Yeah.
So like
Pretty
that's
good.
not
Pretty
bad,
good
it's not
return.
great.
Yeah.
But like they haven't really talked about making the sequels in the meantime, and also OA didn't finish, and like they're always having issues with their stories.
I mean,
So
she's good, but I can see her not being very accessible to people.
If you've also
Yeah.
seen the OA, it does the same. Well, I never saw season 2 because I didn't care for it. But season 1 does kind of the same thing where they're like, "Oh, we're setting up like 5 mysteries and not answering any of them," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Let's answer a couple."
I would say like Josh wants a sequel. I don't think this movie needs a sequel. I think it works on its own. I think getting any answers is not going to really be satisfying. I think
get
the only
it.
thing that really
Yeah.
matters is whether Maggie is from the future or not, and it's up to you. Like, because it's also like, oh well, maybe Maggie's like a weirdo stalker. Maybe Maggie's the mom.
Like, how'd she know that he was a teacher? Like, he obviously
Yeah.
she follows people, or maybe she doesn't, but
Yeah.
she probably
I mean,
does.
Right.
you could
'Cause,
Google
like-
someone back then, 2011.
And there's
Yeah.
there's like random things where it's like, is this a storytelling mistake or is this an intentional? Because she wakes up when she first like comes out, she wakes up in in a bathtub, and then she has to find her way out of a hotel, and then she lived on the streets for a long time, and then that guy found her, but now she can't leave her house or breathe air because it's too dangerous. But
then that's
How
also
long-
clearly
Yeah.
like she
Yeah.
smokes like cigarettes.
then she smokes cigarettes
Mhm.
and like and there's a lot of inconsistencies, but also that ending sequence is so haunting that you're like, but there's no real way around it, which makes
Right.
the inconsistencies even harder, which is why I think that if there was a sequel, it would be like an X-Files Lost situation where it's like no
Yeah.
answers
Where you're
really
like, oh,
gonna
you know,
make sense.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
its incompleteness makes it. No, I agree with that. I can kind of see where it's almost like better as an incomplete version
Yeah.
of itself than
Yeah.
like what.
I mean, that's like the whole.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's what the movie's like trying to say too, is like all you have is information that people tell you, and it's up to you like to make with it what you will, and it's like impossible to like ever know any actual truth kind of deal. And I feel like if there were to be answers, like that whole theme would kind
There's
of be
also
lost.
like, and this isn't just because this movie does do it, but I almost feel like Brit Marling almost has this kind of like moment or kind of like theme in all of her like kind of more like, oh, is this like a cult real or not? Where when the guy is like questioning her, like, well, how do we know you're from the future? And she's like pushing back. It's almost her like telling the audience like, stop worrying about every detail. Like, you either believe
Yeah.
or you don't. Like, you need to
Yeah.
buy
Right.
into this or
Right.
get out, because it's like
Yeah.
nitpicking
Yeah.
isn't gonna like serve anyone, which
Well,
is
Yeah.
interesting.
I think that this movie, it has like that underlying theme of you know, everyone's conflict comes from them not accepting what people are telling them. And it turns out
Yeah,
like half
totally.
the time people are just telling them the truth and they don't want to pay. Like they are like Peter and Lorna are always trying to outsmart everyone to the point where they don't really pay attention to what Maggie's telling them, you know, like she's giving you the answers but you don't want to hear it because obviously you like that fantastical thing can't be real. And I think it's like I don't know, it's an interesting thing where it's like, is this movie pro cult? You know, like
I know. Yeah. Is it pro? Yeah, like these kind
like,
of
do I
like
want to join it?
battering
Yeah, like,
taxes. Yeah.
It's almost like
but
find the right cult is the
well,
message,
I
you know.
think it ends
Yeah.
up
Whatever
being
one you really
like this
respond to.
this message about like if you want to build a community, you can't go in looking for like why doesn't this community work? You know, like you have to kind of have an open mind and try to fix the
Yeah.
problems as they go along, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, no, she's full of shit. Like, you know, like okay,
Right.
but you're here and you're talking, so maybe listen to what she has to say. Like, what does it hurt? You know, and I think it becomes a weird kind of you should find your community even if you're and don't be a Peter, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Face
Well,
yourself, even if you don't
yeah.
know
Yeah,
if you're gonna like what you look at.
No, and it is
yeah,
it is interesting. I do feel like I do, like Brit Marling does kind of carry it. I think she has like such a presence, you know, that like really
Yeah.
like
Totally.
helps that
yeah,
like the you know kind of like nails the because it's a lot of her telling stories and people just like sitting and watching her tell stories, but you're like you're into it, like listening to this like story, and I
yeah,
think it's like
Yeah.
that's actually kind of difficult in a movie to make interesting, just sitting seeing someone tell a story of something else you're not saying, you know.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think if you want to be a filmmaker, this is one of those movies that you watch and you see like, you know, like Clerks. You watch Clerks and you're like, how'd they make that for 25,000? It's like, no, I know how they did it. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
all their friends, and Clerks is great. But like, you watch a movie like this, it was made for very cheap. Where one of the trivia things is that they had to like they would buy a Mac computer and then turn it back in at the 90-day mark so they get their money back, and then buy another one because
Oh,
they couldn't
yeah.
afford a
Totally.
Mac, you know. And it's like this kind of shows you like how big your movie can be because really it's just um, a couple of houses, you know, a car,
Yeah.
like a few locations, and they were able to get away with a lot. And so I
The
think
writing
it's
is just
like,
so paramount to like how good you
yeah,
think it's gonna be.
yeah, I think it's one of those like complex stories. It's told, but it's like so simply told that it makes you kind
Yeah.
of wonder. So yeah, so I think if you're a struggling or a wannabe filmmaker like I am, this movie should be inspiring to see like, oh yeah, that is a cool way to like get around budget, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it
Absolutely.
definitely like
100%.
feels a little bigger than it is, and I think that's great. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
good
yeah,
job, Batman, Gleesh, and Brit.
You got
yeah,
it.
Keep
and
Oh
working.
yes,
Brit,
and also the brother of the director is Rostam from Vampire Weekend who did the
that's
music.
right.
Very cool
Yeah,
factoid.
what a
And the
cool
music is
family.
cool. Although
Yeah.
you know what my favorite part is at the very end, like it like cuts to Peter and he's like on his bike and it's like he's trying to think and like make sense of everything, and then it's like the song is like if you go back to your old days, and it's
Yeah.
like what the fuck is it?
It was like yeah, they just had the one.
It doesn't feel like ironic, but it also doesn't really
Right.
fit the theme. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Always like a good ending song.
That's the song from the future.
Yeah, that's what people listen to.
It
The
should
music
be
just keeps getting
they're
worse.
totally. It should have had like her just like blasting a cig and being like, "Ah, I can't wait till they invent vapes. It's so much better."
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah, this sucks.
It's just-
Where's my blue raz?
I know. I guess I'm waiting here.
Eh.
It's like it's gonna get a little better, and then it's gonna get way, way worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out "Sound of My Voice." It's an
It was
interesting
a good
film.
one.
I think
Yeah.
even if you don't really like the filmmaking thing, to me is super impressive. But even if you don't like or don't care about the filmmaking, like I think it's an interesting story.
it's also like it's
I do
90
too.
minutes and it's like very like
Yeah, barely 90.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like
It is tight.
it's very tight. Yeah, it doesn't like even
There's
though
no fat.
it feels me. It's weird because it feels meandering, but it's very short. But like in a good way, it feels meandering. Where it's like it feels
Yeah,
very,
it's like the style
Yeah.
of it.
It
It's
really
like
does,
you're the disconnectedness you were talking about with like maybe how depression also feels. Like that's kind of like the meandering that
Yeah.
it gives.
yeah,
Yes.
it really
Yeah.
locks you in like early to that, and I really appreciated that. Good vibes,
Totally.
or I guess good
Yeah.
sad vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Go check it out. I think It's one of the best things about this podcast to be able to recommend these type of films.
Totally.
Go check it out, Brit Marling. Don't make AI movies. Make movies with me. It'll be way cooler. But
Oh yeah.
everyone else, we'll see you next week on the Bomb Squad.
See you later.
Dun, dun, dun.